Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to this very, very special webinar. I know a lot of you are here every day, but we're just waiting for more people to kind of come on, but we don't want to keep the ones that are here waiting. As you can see, we have a very, very special guest with us. Professor Majumdar, how do you say your first name? Is it Arjia?
It's Arya.
It's Arya. Okay, I was wondering whether the J was silent or not. Okay, yes. So we have Professor Arya Majumdar with us from OP Jindal University. So let me, as usual, let me just give you a little bit of background about him. If I was going to go through his profile, we'd be here all evening, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to highlight some things that I found super interesting. So Professor Majumdar actually did his bachelor's. I think you're originally from Calcutta, is that correct? Can I assume that? Originally from Calcutta, and then went to the National University of how do you say
Juridical Sciences.
Juridical. I was trying to say a science in Calcutta. So he did a bachelor's degree in law. For all of you who are interested and wanted all those questions about law, here's somebody who knows the ins and outs of that profession. And then went for his master's in law to Tulane University, which is in New Orleans. It's actually on my bucket list to go there, by the way. New Orleans, yes. And then he's, done different things connected to corporate law. And then finally, in 2013, decided to join OP Jindal as a teacher or a professor for corporate and commercial law, but also he was helping on the administrative side. So not only teaching, but creating and implementing academic policies, a whole lot of things. And then finally decided, you know what? I'm going to be Dean of Admissions and Outreach as well as teach, which is fantastic. But it sounds like, I don't know you that well, but I'm getting to know you. It sounds like you're somebody who no one can tie down because you travel quite a bit. Right. So you travel the world giving lectures, which is fantastic globally. So Canada, Israel, Italy, China, Malaysia, I think the list just goes on and on and on. Okay. He also is, what I found interesting is that he also is a very avid mountaineer and actually went to a mountaineering institute in the Himalayas, which is amazing. And I wish he had whatever instrument you play, but he's a self-taught vocalist and musician. And he's performed in many, many theater shows in Delhi. So, Professor Majumdar, you sound like an extremely interesting person. We are so excited that you're here. So, welcome once again. And can you just let's start off by just talking about OP Jindal and what it's about and what's its educational philosophy basically about.
Sure. Well, Sangeeta, thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you so much for that wonderfully warm welcome. So usually people just read out qualifications and past experience, but I'm so glad that you were able to pick out the stuff that you thought was interesting.
Yeah.
So let me start with the idea of OP Jindal Global University. There is a long story, but I'm going to cut that long story short. And the story involves a young lawyer who finds himself in the basement of the NYU Law School library, and he's enrolled in Harvard. He's an LLM student at Harvard. It's not me, by the way. He's enrolled at Harvard. He's in New York City in a law library, and he's thinking to himself, well, Harvard is a private university, but in India, private universities are looked down upon, right? They're considered to be for-profit enterprises. People shouldn't be going there, right? For quality education.
Right.
Why does it have to be so? Why can't India have a good private university that people could aspire to go to? And to cut the long story short, this gentleman, this young lawyer, about 6 or 7 years later actually set up OP Jindal Global University. His name is Professor C. Rajkumar. He's the founding vice chancellor of the OP Jindal Global University. So the OP Jindal Global University, or JGU as it's affectionately called, it has a number of underlying philosophies. The first is a commitment to teaching excellence. Now, different people have different ideas of what makes a good teacher, right? I mean, it's all subjective. But what we've consistently tried to do is to maintain a low faculty-student ratio. So right now there's one faculty member for every 9 students.
9, yeah.
To just put things in perspective, the UGC expects one faculty member for 18 students.
Wow.
Right? So we're pretty much world leading when it comes to faculty-student ratio. What this does is it allows for smaller classrooms and allows for more intimate, individualized, one-on-one learning, right? Which again seems to be one of the characteristics of high-quality teaching. The second characteristic is that of internationalization. I keep joking about this, but it is true. Global is our middle name. So that means that a substantial number of our faculty members are non-Indians, right? So we have faculty members from all over the world, including the United States, Japan, the UK, Nigeria, Canada, Russia, you name it, right? Most of our faculty members, about 90-95%, myself included, have either some form of experience or some academic qualification outside of India. And then we bring that experience and that expertise from outside of Indian shores into the classroom. The third aspect of internationalization is our student mobility programs. Now, a large number of universities are doing this nowadays. They are providing opportunities for students in Indian universities to travel abroad, either on a short-term summer program or a semester exchange, or in some rare cases, even a dual degree program. So you start your program at let's say JGU, but you end up getting a second degree from, let's say, Rollins College, Deakin University, or even Cornell for that matter, right? So that's the third sort of pivot on which we base our internationalization. So international faculty, internationally qualified faculty, and student mobility across borders. Of course, right now in the current scenario, student mobility programs are going to be all at a standstill. But for, let's say, somebody who's starting their undergraduate programs in 2020, we might consider an opportunity in, let's say, 21 or maybe even 22, right? The third aspect of our philosophy is a commitment to research, right? We are not just a teaching university. We aim to be a research-driven university. What this means is that our faculty members publish a lot, or at least they're required to publish a lot. And because they're required to publish, or they're expected to publish quality articles, we often involve our students. So, for example, whatever research projects I'm working on, I will involve my students who will then work with me, and sometimes they will get co-authorship, right? So we would like to demonstrate an excellence in research and a commitment to research, particularly on social sciences, arts, and humanities. And this is one thing that we must bear in mind, that we are, unfortunately or fortunately, we are not a STEM university. We believed right from the beginning that there are enough engineering colleges, that there are enough and more medical colleges. We should not add to that list. Instead, what we would like to do is set up an island of excellence in terms of liberal arts, in terms of social sciences and humanities. So that, in a nutshell, is the underlying philosophy.
That's amazing. I mean, I was going through, I know a lot about OP Jindal as one of the first liberal arts schools that I heard about here in India. But talk to us a little bit about the different schools that you have on, because it's very different from the other liberal art colleges. Sure. So kind of highlight how you think you're different from the other schools. And what's the advantage of having these different separate schools like social sciences and liberal arts and business and law on campus?
So the model that we've adopted is a very American one, in the sense that any American university will have a number of almost independent schools that coexist with one another and work with one another. So, for example, right now, we have 9 schools in law, business, international affairs, governance and public policy, liberal arts and humanities, journalism and communication, art and architecture, banking and finance, and environment and sustainability. Right? These are the 9 schools that we have. In fact, the environment and sustainability school, we just started last year, and we are welcoming our first batch in August 2020.
And is that a bachelor's degree, the environmental and
Yes, it's a BA in environmental sciences. We've just launched it. We've launched a few new programs, about 7 of them this year. If you want, I'm happy to speak about this. But how this works is each school acts independently when it comes to academics. So the school decides what the curriculum is going to be. The school decides who's going to teach, what kind of students we're going to bring in, right? What this does is you create a sort of a silo or sort of a little niche for yourself where when you're getting out of it, you're not getting a liberal arts degree with a major in economics. What you're getting is a BA in economics.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So we are right now offering UG and PG, undergrad and postgrad combined. We're offering about 23 odd degrees, of which the majority, about 17, I think, are in the undergrad space. Right. So these are different degrees and which mean different things. So if I were to take up a liberal arts program, and we do have a liberal arts, a very good liberal arts program, I might add, and I major in economics, how is that going to be viewed differently from somebody who came out with a BA in economics? Right? Which one would hold more credibility? So that's one. And I'm not going to answer that question. That is something for recruiters, student recruiters, and for others to judge. But what this also allows us to do is to sort of look at specializations within the individual schools. So, for example, in the public policy school, there is one specialization on public health, which is on everybody's minds right? So what it allows us to do is get hold of a public health specialist and make him a faculty at our public policy school. Now, this fellow, our public health specialist, now offers an elective course that is offered across all 9 schools. So now you've got these specialists who are super specialized in their field and highly qualified. Right? And they are offering, let's say, so for example, we offer a course on international feminist thought. Okay? International feminist thought. Now, we've got a school on public policy. Do you think feminism and feminist thought ought to be relevant for public policy and women's safety? Yes.
Absolutely.
Right? Do you think, because it's international feminist thought, do you think it will be applicable to international affairs students? Yeah. And feminism as the driving force behind equal rights for women, is that going to be relevant for a law student? Yes. Yeah. So now, we've got that one fellow who's teaching international feminist thought, and he's offering that course to students from the law school, public policy, international affairs, perhaps even art and architecture, right?
Absolutely.
So I used to teach this course, which was cross-listed across schools. I used to teach a course called corporate governance, right? And I would have students from the law school, from business school, from international affairs, from public policy. What was so amazing was that these guys usually wouldn't be in class together. They'll be playing together, they'll be living together, or they'll be eating together, but never in an intellectual sort of space together. Now they're in a classroom together, and they all come from different disciplines and different approaches. It was fascinating for me as a lawyer to see how an MBA student or a BBA student approaches the same problem that a law student couldn't figure out, and they're learning from each other. That peer-to-peer learning in a cross-listed elective across these 9 schools, mind you, is amazing. So right now, for this semester, before we all went home, and of course classes are going online right now, we have about 320 odd elective courses, of which about 190 are cross-listed.
So it's very interdisciplinary in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we refer to ourselves as a multidisciplinary university.
Multidisciplinary. Okay, that's amazing. So, just a question with regards to admission. So, is the admission process different for every school? All schools?
Good question. The admission process is the same for every school, except for the BA LLB, the BBA LLB, the 3-year LLB, and the 5-year Bachelor of Architecture. Okay? So the law programs, the 5-year BLLB, BBLLB, and the 3-year LLB, these are governed by the Bar Council of India.
Right.
The B.Arch or the Bachelor of Architecture is governed by the Architecture Council of India.
Right.
Sorry, the Council of Architecture, which requires both of them outside of the purview of the UGC. They require certain additional, things to be done. For example, the UGC. So, for example, the Bar Council of India requires an All India exam to be taken place once in a year. We call that the LSAT India. Yeah. So, for law aspirants, I'm assuming they will be sitting for the CLAT for all the national law schools. I would encourage them to sit for the LSAT India exam as well.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, the LSAT India exam, as of today, is the only online law school exam as on date.
Yeah, we came out with that today.
Yeah, we came out with that today.
We heard today. It's like
our breaking news this morning.
That's huge. Yeah.
So we're working with Pearson VUE to set up an AI remote proctored exam, which students can take in the comfort and safety of their own homes. Even after the lockdown reopens, even if you are in a green zone, we would still recommend that you stay at home, practice physical distancing. So we're making it a point to ensure that as many people as possible, they can take the LSAT India exam from their homes. Same thing for the Bachelor of Architecture, right?
Yeah.
That's also governed by one single exam, the NATA, which is now being postponed. For the other programs, all the other undergraduate programs, the process is fairly simple. We've moved it completely online. There is an application form, there's a faculty interview, there is a entrance exam, right? And of course, the eligibility criteria is that you pass your board exams, right? So the application form is online. The faculty interviews now take place on Skype or on Zoom or whatever. And our entrance exam, much like the LSAT India, is also online.
Okay.
Right? So you can sit at home and apply for the Jindal Scholastic Aptitude Test, the JSAT, which is our entrance exam for all the courses apart from the LSAT and the architecture.
Interesting. Okay. So, and what can you tell us a little bit before I go into the application and what's needed from a student? The entrance test, is it aptitude or is it English and math? I mean, what kind of test is it?
So it's a combination of comprehension skills, reading and writing, a bit of quantitative aptitude, and a bit of qualitative aptitude. But what we've done is we've sort of changed the weightages for each of the programs. While the exam is pretty much the same kind of questions. But the number of, let's say, quantitative analysis questions or numbers questions or maths questions that you'll get as, let's say, a liberal arts applicant would be a lot less than if you were an economics applicant.
Of course. Yeah, I get it. Okay.
So that fine-tuning we've done for each of these courses. Okay. Right? And so more or less the exam remains the same. In terms of the application, well, basic details about, students, parents, etc., contact details, marks in class 10, 11, pre-board exam marks if available, which board do they belong to, and so on and so forth. Plus, there will be a number of supplemental questions, including a personal statement or a statement of purpose or an essay, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Right? For specific programs, there might be specific questions. For example, we've just launched the BA Political Science program, right? A standard political science program from an international affairs school, right? So now that program would have let's say, a question on what do you think is is one of the biggest political challenges that India is facing right now, right? That would be a question that would be asked on the form. So what we're looking for is how plugged in are you with the program that you're seeking to?
Right. Absolutely. Do you want to take questions now which are connected to what you're talking about, or would you like to take it later?
That's entirely up to you. So like I said, Sangeeta, you're in the driver's seat.
Okay. So there is one question just because it says, sir, I am interested in pursuing political science as honors, and I came across a course as global affairs.
Yeah.
What's the difference in these courses?
All right. So the global affairs program is effectively, so what we've seen in the past is that global affairs, so a lot of students undertake political science and go on to do a master's in, let's say, international relations or diplomacy and what have you. So we decided that why don't we start teaching international affairs and global affairs right from the beginning? But we wanted to make a distinction between international relations, which is the study of companies, countries, and how they work with each other, right? And have a more basic, solid, fundamental, background in terms of understanding how the world works. Right. Which is why we did not want to call it a BA in international affairs. We wanted to call it a BA in global affairs. but it's a fantastic platform which a standard pol science degree might not be able to give you, because a standard pol science degree will cover a whole lot of other things apart from a bit about global affairs. So we wanted to take that global affairs and expand it to an extent that a student would be ready for a career in, let's say, diplomacy right now.
Okay. Mr. Gogoi, I hope your question has been answered. Let's just continue with the list of questions that I have. Just what's the application intake ratio? So approximately how many do you get in? How many do you actually get in? Because I want students to actually take this serious.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's why I want them to kind of.
Well, it varies from school to school.
Okay.
Right? Obviously, our law school is very, very popular.
I heard.
With a lot of hard work, we've been ranked the #1 law school in India by QS. But as you can imagine, the application to acceptance rate would be a lot lower in the newer programs, right? Which haven't yet had an imagination in the market. But so irrespective of what the application to acceptance rate is, and it can vary from as much as 1:10 to 1:4, right? We would like to ensure that every single student who comes to us comes with a purpose, comes with a passion for the subject, or at least demonstrates a passion for the subject, right? It's not. So if a student comes to us and says, I really don't know what I want to do, but I think I want to do something in economics. Right? Our first question will be why? Why do you want to do economics? So we try and get that out of the student in terms of the admissions process as well.
Right.
But basic benchmarks of comprehension and logical logical deduction, reasoning capability, these are what's actually required for us.
Okay. Just in terms of the application, I'm trying to hurry through my questions, because there are a number of questions.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah. So what, can you tell us a little bit about, because we've been trying to tell the students to kind of make use of this time to kind of do something substantial, attending your online classes is one thing, but kind of building a profile for themselves, because whether they're applying to any liberal arts school here in India or abroad, whatever, it's one of the biggest components of an application, a form. So is that important for you all also? Is it important that a student has like a quality resume of extracurriculars that they have done?
Well, okay. So yes, we do look for extracurriculars. Right, we would like to have well-rounded individuals on campus, and there's a whole host of sporting facilities and extracurricular activities that are there. So we would like students to enjoy those. But beyond marks, how else do you gauge a student's interest? Right. For example, if a student has done a mock United Nations, right, they would automatically. People would automatically notice them for, let's say, global affairs.
Right.
If a student is good at debating, you would automatically notice them for the law school.
Mm-hmm.
If a student has already done, let's say, a project in entrepreneurship or something, we'd automatically take a look at that if they're applying to the business school. So these things matter.
Okay.
Right. But to all those who are listening, if you are applying for something and you haven't done. If you are applying for a program and if you haven't done anything to demonstrate an interest, it's never too late, right?
Absolutely.
There are, and it's not just you have to demonstrate it from a third party. You can demonstrate it through your statement of purpose as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. But nothing like them, kind of, and because they have the time, and that's why we've been make use of it. And now, especially, universities abroad saying, we're SAT optional, all the more reason where they're going to be looking at profiles. You know what I mean? Because they're cutting off some of these others. Janani has asked, what kind of portfolio will we need for the local school?
So, Janani, you don't need a portfolio as such, right? I can tell you my experience in law school. So, like you, like other law aspirants, I too had to sit for an entrance exam. I didn't prepare for it because I didn't think law was a thing back then. It turned out to be a thing now. Sorry?
I'm laughing.
Okay. No, I actually want to be a journalist. So law just happened for me. It happened by mistake, and I managed to get in somehow into NUJS. But here's the thing: I was an introvert, right? And I didn't speak out. I didn't do debating, right? So you don't really need a portfolio to get into law school. Just crack the entrance exam.
Right.
In the National Law School's case, it's the CLAT. In our case, it's the LSAT exam, right?
Yeah.
So you don't really need a portfolio. But if you have a passion for, for fighting and speaking up for those who can't speak for themselves, law is a good career.
Yeah. So generally, like you heard, it's up to you how you want to showcase some of the strengths and skills that you have in order for law to be a good fit for you. So yes, you can work on your profile, but it really, I don't think there's like a hard and fast rule of what you want on a profile, right?
No, there's no hard and fast rule. So for law, because it's highly regulated and it's only the entrance exam that matters, we actually don't look at anything else, just the entrance exam marks.
Yeah. So, but maybe for liberal arts or some of the others, maybe.
Definitely. It again depends upon what the student has done in the past, apart from the studies. And if there are any extracurricular or co-curricular activities that sort of tie in with what they claim to be interested in.
Yeah, then, definitely. So I've said this before, there's on the sticky note, there is a link that you can actually go in. If you need help with regards to building your profile, especially during this time, please fill out that form and we'd be happy to get in touch with you and put together a roadmap of what you can do. Okay. Abit is asking, sir, in the law CLAT exam, except legal aptitude, math, English, and reasoning, anything else also?
Does anything else also come? I don't think so. I think Abhit has covered all the topics in the CLAT exam correctly, including legal aptitude, maths, English, and reasoning.
Yeah.
General awareness, I think. General awareness is one other portion. General knowledge.
That's pretty like GK. So the newspaper, Abhit, that's what you need to do. Okay. Are there any semester exchange programs?
About 100 of them. So,
wow.
Yeah. We actually have the most number of international partnerships of any Indian university. As of now, it's 250 and counting, and it's all over the world. Mostly, we have a lot of partners in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. And we routinely, on every year, we send up to anywhere between 150 to 200 students abroad on semester exchange. So they go abroad, spend a semester abroad, come back, whatever credits they've earned in our partner university, we accept them as JGU credits. In fact, some of our partners are, not just partners, they're friends. So, for example, and I'm happy to share this with you, we've been in talks with the University of Arizona, one of our closest and oldest partners.
Right.
And the University of Arizona is saying that, look, we get a lot of students from India and Southeast Asia and South Asia, right? So can you guys please house them for 6 months while we work out the coronavirus problem? So you teach them, we will accept the credits that they earn at JGU, and then we will accept them onto Arizona campus physically at the end of 2020.
That's fantastic.
Right? So we're already doing this for the University of Arizona, where we are lending a helping hand to, a lot of American universities are having major issues right now.
Of course.
Right? Thanks to a number of factors, including, and I'm not afraid to say it, a weak leadership at best, right? So we are in constant touch with our partner universities, and yes, a lot of our students do semester exchange programs all across the world.
Just for the students to know, do you want to name some of the partner universities you guys?
Sure. Our specifically for semester exchange, our partner universities include Queen Mary, York University, Southampton, Arizona, Indiana University, University of UC Davis, University of Hawaii, and this is just in North America.
Right, exactly.
Except for Queen Mary and Southampton.
Southampton and York.
And York is in Canada.
Oh, the Canada one.
York, so that's with Osgood Hall Law School.
Yeah.
So that's just in North America. So in South America, we've got, I think, FGV in Sao Paulo, and another one in Buenos Aires. I'm forgetting the name of the university. Plenty of them in Europe, including ISED, including the FGV school in Germany as well. We have a tie-up with the Geneva School of Diplomacy, where a number of our global affairs students go, and so on and so forth.
Excellent! Wow.
For a full list of our exchange programs, do visit our website.
It could be on the. That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Rani, if you have any more questions about the semester exchange programs, just look at the website. Okay.
Yeah.
What about international school? I mean, how do you accept international schools? Janani is asking, how about students from international schools?
Sure.
How many A's and how many credits do they require for the law school along with the LSAT results?
Okay, so the standard that we require in terms of IB is 24.
Okay.
24 credits is the bare minimum that we require, which is the standard, I think, across the world, right? We do accept SAT scores, we accept ACT scores, we accept IB scores, we accept Cambridge board scores as well.
11.
Now, this is something important. Now, I'm assuming a lot of our students who are listing in are from IB schools and Cambridge board schools, right? Now, this is something that many public universities may not do, right? But let's say getting a 90% or the equivalent of a 90% in CBSE is difficult, but not entirely impossible, right? To put it mildly.
Right.
If Delhi University cutoffs are for let's say St. Stephen's is 99%, then getting 90 shouldn't be a problem, right? Okay. But getting the equivalent of a 90% in IB is next to impossible.
Yeah.
We recognize that. So we have our own equivalency, right, which is homegrown, which is part of our proprietary data, and we apply that. So if somebody's coming in on a 28, IB 28, right, that's not necessarily what other people would consider as the equivalent of a 28, right? So we've worked around with these scales a little bit. We've worked around based on student data that we've received, right? So every year we get in students and we look at the range of marks that they get, and based on that data, we've developed our own equivalency data. Right. So even if you're in an IB school and you think you're competing with people from, let's say, CBSE, ICSE, or any of the state boards, which by the way are equally difficult to do, right? I'm sure. But fear not, there is an equivalency table, and we will take into account that a lot of IB students will not be able to go beyond perhaps a 28.
Right.
Yeah.
Most of them are around that area.
Yeah.
Are you still open for applications right now?
Yes, we are. We are still open for applications. In fact, we haven't even opened our application. Well, we have opened our applications, but let's say for the law school, admissions will only be decided in June and July.
Right.
Right. That's when the LSAT takes place.
Yeah. Okay. So students. Yeah. Sorry. Carry on.
So we expect our admission season to go well into June and July.
Okay. So students, if you're in grade 12 right now, doesn't matter, as you heard, it doesn't matter which syllabus you have done. Go ahead and apply, see what your chances are. This is a great opportunity. I mean, we've talked about interdisciplinary teaching and, learning a couple of weeks ago. This is good for you. It's what you need for the future too. So go ahead and apply. Don't kind of wait or ponder over it. Get onto the website, look at it, research, see what fits for you, and apply. Mr. Joe Storm, he comes every day. So he's kind of my friend on this virtual webinar. He said he joined late. So if you could quickly just go through the three philosophy perspectives.
The three philosophies on which JGU is built is teaching excellence. We keep our classrooms small. We keep teaching and learning individualized and intimate. Second is global is our middle name. Therefore, internationalization is in everything that we do, including our faculty members, our students. And third, our commitment to research. We involve our students. We produce some excellent research in social sciences and arts and humanities, and we make it a point to involve our students in research. Those are
Thank you. Gursharan wants to know, do you offer scholarships and what would be the process?
Right. So, Gursharan, that's a very good question and a question I get very often. So we do offer scholarships. We offer a substantial amount of scholarships. And our scholarships are based on two things. One is the means, the financial condition of the student, and the merit of the student. So what we do is we take into account the class 10, class 11, and class 12 board results. We take into account the qualifying score, the qualifying exam, the qualifying exam score. We take into account the strength of the candidate's application and their score that they received on the faculty interaction or faculty interview. We put these all together, and that's one set of scales. And we take a look at the parents' income tax returns. And we provide a score, right, for each student. So somebody with really high marks, a really strong application, and really great reviews in terms of the faculty interaction, and with a low income level, automatically gets put on the top of our list.
Wow.
Right? So lower the income, the higher the score, the scholarship score. Right. Higher the application strength, higher the score.
Right.
So when we merge these two together, you now have a scholarship list. Right? So it's means come merit. We believe that any student who wishes to study at JGU should not be bereft of that opportunity if they don't have the means. But there is something to be said for academic merit as well. So if I have two students who are equally in need of financial aid, I will give the scholarship to the more meritorious one.
That's amazing. And I have to vouch for what you just said, because like I told you before, my nephew is going there and he's in the law school and he did really well on the LSAT and he got an incredible, like a dean's scholarship. I mean, just incredible. So Gulsharan, I'm just vouching what Professor Majumdar said. It is true. They actually do look at the entirety of the application. They look at how you've done on your entrance test, your interview, all of it. Very holistic view in terms of giving scholarships. So if you feel like you need some kind of, go ahead and apply, don't stop yourself from doing that. Who knows, you might see a chance. Yeah. Krisha wants to know what kind of questions are asked during the interview.
What kind of questions are asked you? Anything, it could be anything and everything. For example, why? So one of the questions is always going to be, why are you choosing this program? Why not something else? Right? And your answer can't be, because I'm interested in it. Right? That's an easy answer.
Right?
So you have to go beyond, yes, I am interested in it, but I did this in high school, or I watched this movie, or I played this game and I thought of this, and therefore it got me thinking, and now I want to be a diplomat. Right? So you got to be able to frame that answer properly. Another number of times students will get asked about, there will be a dip. I'm assuming most students going from 10 to 11, there will be a dip in grades. If there is one, they might have to, address that question. Another question that often comes up is, what do you see gaining out of this program, right? So in order to ensure that the faculty member and the student both are aware of the student's expectations from the program, right? For example, you can't be coming to the BBA program and thinking, I'm going to be an astronaut, right? So what are you trying to get? What do you think you're going to get out of this program that you're going to, enter into? So these are some of the questions that the faculty usually asks. Now, these are questions that test the students' sort of commitment and their interest in the program. To take it a step further, certain programs, for example, let's say economics or political science, they might ask you questions on very basic economics, something that you should have learned in school already, if you had these subjects on, in 11 and 12, right? So if you are a political science student, if you want to be a political science student, and if I were to interview you, I'd ask you, okay, what do you think democracy is?
Right.
And if you can't explain what democracy is, maybe not the right candidate.
Right. Absolutely. So I think it really kind of, they gauge the authenticity of your interest in a particular, school that you want to go to. Yeah. So hopefully that's answered your question. There's another question that Arush is asking, similar to the portfolio one, as to what extracurricular activities are considered for different fields.
It depends upon the field. We consider all kinds of extracurricular activities. Whether I think what Arushi meant to ask, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think she meant to ask co-curricular activities.
Right.
Something that involves the academic curriculum as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I would welcome a sportsman at any point of time, right? If they meet, our criteria. But would I choose one person over another because that person plays football well? No, not necessarily, right? Okay. But in terms of co-curricular activities, depends upon the program that you're going for. For example, there are a number of competitions nowadays on, let's say, mock United Nations, mock Youth Parliament, debates, quizzes, mock finance or entrepreneurship competitions, so on and so forth. So we look at what you've done, and then we'll see that is this. So you could absolutely do an entrepreneurship competition and apply for our liberal arts, right? Even though there might not be an immediate connect, but we still look at it, right? And it doesn't hurt. So if the question is, should I invest my time and energy into co-curricular activities? Absolutely. Yeah. It makes you a better person. It makes you a more holistic, well-rounded individual. And really, that's what all good universities are looking for, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Great response. So, Arshi, I hope you understood that. Like I said before, if you need help, kind of wanting to brainstorm about what you need to do and things like that, get in touch with us. We'd be happy to be in touch with you, get in touch with you. And anyone out here who asked about extracurriculars, portfolio, things like that. Sorry, you've got a few more minutes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. By the way, Sangeeta, I'm having a lot of fun.
Oh, good.
Right? We can go on for a while if you'd like.
Excellent. So Dhwani wants to know, what is the average SAT score required? So is there one particular?
There's no average as such. I mean, the SAT, again, because it's a holistic, application process, we look at a lot of things. And really, if I were to say, if I were to call out an average SAT score, it would not do justice.
Right. I don't think that would be fair. Yeah. I'm sure there's a minimum score, but I'm sure there's no maximum score.
No, there's no maximum score.
And Janani has two questions. She first wants to know, what's my chance of getting into University of Yale, I guess, from coming to JGU and then going there. And then, can you speak on the Cambridge terms, please, because I need to know the number of A's and B's.
Okay.
So
let's take the first question. Yale. Yale is possibly one of the most selective universities in the world, right? Again, it depends upon which program you're getting into. But I can tell you right now, a few of our students have gone from our university to Harvard, Cambridge, and Oxford, Stanford. Nobody's gone to Yale yet. Not yet. But there's always a first time, right? We do not have a partnership with them. But if you're looking to pursue further studies abroad at Yale particularly, then I'd say you'd have a good chance. Of course, Yale only takes, I can tell you right now, it's very, very difficult to get into a master's program at Yale. All right. Second was, I'm sorry, what was the second question?
The levels. Hey, and just got one more question for you. Just might as well put it together. She said she's taken global perspectives as a subject for my AS level.
Okay.
Will it add to my portfolio as an advantage?
Absolutely, if she's applying for our global affairs or political science courses, right? Definitely. But the number of A's and the actual grades that we require will differ from program to program. So Janani, what I would recommend is get onto our website or just search for Nandini Uchil. I think she's listening on this. And she's probably wondering, why is Janani not calling me instead? So Janani, get in touch with Nandini Uchil. Her contact details are on our website. And speak to her. She will take on these details.
And if you're okay with it, Professor Majumdar, what I can do is, if you write to me at guideme@univariety.com, Janani, I can send you Nandini's email.
Yeah, that might work as well.
Yeah, if that might work. I can do that, no problem. Rachana has a good question. She wants to know, would having cohesive subject choices with respect to your choice of career in 11th and 12th give you any edge in undergrad?
Might, but unlikely. I'll tell you why. In 11 and 12, and this is I'm speaking from my experience. In 11 and 12, it's okay. Moving out of class 10 into class 11, my father said, son, you have to do science. Because back in the 90s, everybody did science or commerce at best. I wanted to write. So nobody did arts. So son, you have to do science. Okay, science it is. So I did science for 2 years, 11 and 12. And through the ages, I thought I'd be an astrophysicist at some point in time, or an engineer, or a doctor, not a doctor, or an engineer at some point in time, right? I ended up going to law school. How did a knowledge of organic chemistry that you'd learn in 11 and 12, how would, or differential equations, or integrative calculus, how would that help in law? It doesn't. The choice of subjects that you take up in, let's say high school, right, need not be the same kind of subjects that you take up in undergrad, which again need not be the same kind of subjects that you take up in postgrad if you're doing postgrad, right? I went from wanting to be a journalist to a lawyer, and now my job is basically talking to people. Right. That's it. It's not standing up in court. It's not striking a deal like a Harvey Specter, right? So the idea, I need our students to get out of this idea that, oh, because I've done science, I must only do science. No, the world is your oyster. The world is full of opportunities.
I think you should talk to students and parents also.
Of course. I'd love to talk to parents about this.
Exactly.
You know, and let's face it, Steve Jobs, right? He's founded one of the world's biggest tech companies. He's not an engineer. He's a liberal arts student.
Yeah.
Jack Ma, the founder of one of China's biggest private companies, he doesn't have a master's degree he doesn't have an MBA. He has a BA, I think, in political science.
Wow.
Right? Elon Musk, the next Steve Jobs, right? He has a BA in English. He's not a techie.
Right.
So we have to get out of this idea that once you're a science student, once you're a humanities student, you'll always be a humanities student.
Humanities student. Yeah, I totally agree. Those who are asking about the portfolio and profile, Sneha Mashati from my team has already put a link in the chat box. Just go ahead and fill that, and then I can talk to you. Mr. Sanjay, you've been asking me about syllabuses and colleges. Just write into me at guideme@univariety.com and I can help you. Dwani wants to know what co-curricular activities for either psychology or economics are online courses counted for application?
As far as I recall, there are no co-curricular activities that are specifically for psychology, but online courses would definitely count, would definitely give you a slight edge. But again, we're looking at the students' interest and their passion for the subject, and that can be demonstrated in many ways.
Right. Yeah. Nandini, I hope that answers your question. Okay. Nandini's actually put her email address and WhatsApp number, so it's great. Thank you.
Good job, Nandini. Well done.
So I have one last question for you because I kept you for more than 30 minutes. I'm sorry about that, but this is what happens normally. Talk to us a little bit about your campus. Like, I've seen your buildings and there's something very interesting about it. So give the audience a little bit of, information about your campus, and is it safe for girls and boys to study there?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I've got good news and bad news.
Okay.
The good news is it's 30 kilometers from Delhi. The bad news is it's 30 kilometers from Delhi.
Okay.
Right? So our campus is located in a rural part of Haryana, about 30 kilometers north of Delhi, which gives us access to Delhi. It takes a couple of hours to get there, maybe an hour and a half, which means that weekends can be spent in Delhi. So we are far away enough from the city to not be part of the city and be in a rural setting where the sky is actually blue and the sunsets are absolutely gorgeous, right? But in terms of the campus itself, it's literally a self-contained city. Mm-hmm. There are about 5,000 students, 500 faculty members, and about 650 odd support staff. All of us teach, learn, live, pray, eat, laugh, cry, all together on that one campus. And all of us are together. So there's never a dull moment. All of our classes take place in literally the same building, the building that you would have gone to, right? So our classes are shared between, our classrooms are shared between different batches. Mm-hmm. So at one point of time, there might be, a BBA batch coming out and a BA LLB batch coming in, and they're interacting and constantly talking to each other in the corridor. So there's always some kind of activity. There's always a buzz on campus, right? But that's working. That's living and, that's learning and teaching. We've now started construction on our 11th student hostel. All of our hostels are have running hot and cold water, centrally air conditioned, and because I'm talking to a lot of teenagers right now, we have 15 megabytes per second high-speed internet, right? So Netflix all you want, except please focus on studies first, right? But in spite of all of this, we haven't lost sight of the fact that we are in Haryana, and that gives us two things. One, an interest in sports, because Haryana is known for its sports persons, right? So we have extensive sporting facilities, including a cricket field, 2 football grounds, volleyball courts, basketball courts, tennis courts, badminton courts, and even an Olympic-sized swimming pool, right? But the other issue that a lot of parents and students ask me that, is it safe, right? And, I come from Calcutta, and, I've lived in here for the last 13 years in Delhi and other parts of Haryana. I cannot say anything about the state of Haryana or safety, particularly for women in North India or Haryana in general, right? But I can assure you that on campus, it's absolutely safe. There are security guards manning all the gates 24/7. Mm-hmm. Students, when they go out and when they come in, their parents are immediately notified. Students have to take permission to go out. Wow. Undergrad students have to take permission from their parents. Parents have to consent. The reason for this is we can take care of our kids. We can take care of our own on campus. The moment they step out of campus, there's nothing we can do. Literally, right? Yeah. Because you never know what happens, right? Mm-hmm. And we've heard horror stories, not just in North India, but across the world. Of course. So that's one. Second, the students now often joke that, there are more CCTV cameras on campus than students. So barring, I think, classrooms and hostel rooms, most other public spaces on campus are under surveillance, right? And in terms of, I shouldn't be saying this, and I'll let our students talk about it. There's literally no ragging on campus. The culture of ragging doesn't exist. What we've done is we've instituted something called the Buddy Project, where we get seniors to actually work with incoming graduates, incoming students. And that sort of removes any question of ragging at all. We haven't had a single case of ragging in the last, God knows how many years now. I don't even remember the last case that was filed.
Happy campus. Everyone's happy. Who's really happy. I mean, especially if you go in as a guest, and you'll have by far the tallest flagpole and the largest Indian flag I have ever seen and will see in my life. Yeah. It's huge, but it's beautiful.
It's one of those places. So the flagpole arena is an open space where there is this 100, 200 foot tall flagpole. The flag is actually as big as my apartment. And people congregate there all the time. It's a great place for, let's say, public speeches. It's a great place for exchanging ideas. We as faculty members, sometimes if the weather is nice, we teach over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what better place to learn about democracy and constitution than under the Indian flag?
Good flag. Awesome. There's one last question. She said last question. Anything you can share about your fee structure?
About our fee structure. Okay. So this is, I will be very blunt and honest with this. We are a little on the higher side, depending upon the program that students are looking for. The fee structure could go up to as much as 8 lakhs per year. That's inclusive of our residential our residential fees, and it could be as low as 4 lakhs a year as well. So anywhere between 4 to 8 lakhs is our fee structure. This includes both the tuition fees as well as the residential fees. Now, mind you, we are a completely residential campus with running hot and cold water, high-speed internet, and air conditioning and food. Just a note of caution, though, and I feel very strongly about this as a non-vegetarian Bengali. Our campus is vegetarian, right? But there is also a food court on campus with Subway, Keventas, Moti Mahal, Burko's, Domino's, and a couple of other restaurants where you can actually go sit down and eat non-veg.
I'm serious. Yes. Thank you for that. It's good. Give them a heads up. Well, Professor Majumdar, thank you so much for being a part of our webinar today. I'm sure there's lots of people saying positive things, and thank you, and interesting. And I actually want to go back and study on a campus such as that, So thank you so much for your insights, your wealth of knowledge, and just the guidance that you've given our students. We're going to be sending out this webinar to all our kids so that they know more about OP Jindal. Students, please go look at the website. They're still open. Applications are open. So go definitely look. And if you, like I said before, profile building, you need any kind of guidance, please go ahead and fill out the form on the sticky note above the chat box. So
thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta, for having me today. I really enjoyed myself. This was so, it was a free-flowing conversation, and, I really felt right at home. And to those students, thank you for joining us today. I hope this has been interesting, and, I hope you're thinking a little bit more about your further studies now, whether it's in JGU or any other university, that doesn't matter. But I hope taking away from this, you are a little more certain about your future.
Yes. Thank you so much. Yeah. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. See you. Bye-bye. Thank you.